Hello YouTube, thought I'd do another little video on a new axe I've just bought. My opinion is you can never have enough axes, though you probably can. But this is the gransfors Bruk's large splitting axe. You can get a splitting maul or a large splitting axe with a long handle, but this one is basically slightly less weight, slightly shorter than my Oakensoft splitter maul or splitter pro. So I don't really want something that does the same job. But I've done some splitting with that, and it kind of, after a while, it does tire you out a little bit. So this would be kind of in between. So you've got fairly effective splitting power, but not quite up there with a maul, and not quite as heavy. So it's definitely got a place within my collection. This is a premium axe. This was about £170, and it's forged and unfinished. So when it tends to be the style these days, where it used to be you'd forge them and they'd do all the work they could to polish it so everything looked the same, whereas I think the new style now, and actually I quite like it as well, it still shows the workmanship that's hand forged. And this is forged with about 80 strikes, I think it is, which adds to the strength of it, and then it's cold or heat treated at the end, hardened at the end. But you can clearly see it's still got all the marks of the original maker, which I quite like, and the original initials of the chap that made it. And I'll put some a screenshot up in a second about who made that. Got a nice overstrike guard, but obviously a little more crude, more basic than my Oakensoft one. But I quite like that. I quite like the fact that it does actually look like a more premium axe, even though it's not finished. But if that was to be all nicely polished and painted, I think it takes away from some of the aesthetic. I'll put some stats up in a bit because I can't remember quite how long it is, and I'll show you compared to my other axes. But it's slightly shorter, maybe 10 centimeters shorter than my splitting Oakensoft axe. So I could use this all day really. It's definitely something to keep in the family, hence the expense of it. Nice leather guard there. Right. Watch out. Watch out. So it's quite interesting that all axes, although you think you're pretty much kind of conning yourself by buying premium or non-premium axes, it's just a bit of metal that goes through some wood, but they all feel quite different. So this one I don't think it's got quite the splitting power of the Oakensoft, because that's got a lot of weight and it's kind of fires through everything. So that's made as a maul really. It's kind of in between a maul and a heavy splitting axe. So the downfall of that is that after a while you get quite tired. This is a good splitting axe. The interesting thing, it hasn't got the splitting power of the Oakensoft, but it seems to be it doesn't fly anything to the side. So you hit it and it stays in place, which I quite like actually. And it might be different, I guess, if you hit it once it's going to fly to the side, but you're able to kind of hit it, pretty much split the whole thing and it stay in place. It's very sharp, this one, and I think I need to do some research about whether it's better to have a dull blade or a sharp blade. My dad always said a dull blade, but it seems like a lot of the sites say a sharp blade because it'll get stuck right in. As you can see from the profile, it's so wide, when it does go through it really fires them to the side. But you know, it does what an axe does really, it just splits wood. But it's definitely good for the medium grain kind of wood. So that wood I just did is perfect. I've taken apart wood like this with the maul side by side. I think this could do it, but it's got probably a stronger overstrike guard on the Oakensoft. And you take apart all this kind of stuff as well, you know, if you nip off at the edges. So this is kind of maybe, once you take those off into sections, you could then use this all day. But it's still a lovely axe, you know, I really like it. It's a beautiful looking axe. And it'd be my go-to for general splitting. I use the bigger axe when I want to take apart the bigger pieces. So I mean, it is a premium. It is £170, so you know, that's nothing to be laughed at. It's quite expensive. You could definitely get something cheaper that does as good a job. But for me, I really like axes. I want to keep it in the family. It's kind of a collectible thing really, and I like looking at all the history and the fact that it's handmade. But it's by no means, you know, amazing that you need to get this axe beyond anything else. I think you like the craftsmanship of it and the brand and the fact that, you know, that someone's made it, put their initials in it. So it's definitely a family heirloom. But yeah, for the medium-sized wood, I think that's a really good axe. I like that. Interestingly, I just thought I'd give it a go on this big piece of wood, which I thought it wouldn't be up for the challenge really, but because it's so sharp, it immediately cleaved off these. It dug right in. I'll do like a small one with one hand. So you can see that. So obviously got no strength behind that, 'cause I've got one hand, but it really sticks in and splits. So I think that's because of the sharpness. So obviously you'd nip all that off. My bigger Oakensoft will basically kind of take lumps off this. It's nowhere near as sharp, but that kind of stuck right in. I'll try another one with one hand. So obviously there's no power behind that, but it sticks right in, so that's going to really cleave it. Again, sticks right in. So you can see a split there already. With more power, two hands that had gone through, but I'm doing it with one hand, trying to film it. Try again with one hand. Very hard with one hand. There you go. So that would have done that in one with two hands. So it really sticks in, really focused, which I quite like. So yeah. I've actually changed my mind a little bit. I think it chops in a different way. So the maul would basically power through that and fly them to the side where this sticks in. But yeah, you can kind of just like a chisel really, you can nip it away and it can handle the bigger bits of wood, but it handles it in a different way to a maul. A maul's about power and getting it done in one strike, where this is just nipping it away. So I've changed my mind. I think it probably can handle the big stuff. It's just a different kind of axe, different kind of technique. Interesting. well, capable of more than I thought. Just nipping away. So, and it actually didn't need as much power. I think I'd have to use a lot more power with my splitting maul than I would do for that, because that's just kind of cutting through it. So, yeah.
Good to go. Good one.
Did you get it okay?
Yeah, I think I did.
Ciao.
Guys. Tell me this is your last chop.
Yeah.
So I can save the cheese. Little wood lice.
From memory, I kind of half given up on these two stumps with my Arkansas because it's just really knotted wood. And I was pounding it and I kind of gave up. But this kind of sticks in so effortlessly. I think it's quite good for like actually getting into those knots and pulling them apart, because it's taking apart some wood that I didn't think it'd be able to, and it feels like it's doing it because it's so sharp. So I'm going to give this a go now. You can see how tough that is. But it's sticking in so effectively. You can see it's split already. It's like a knife or a chisel. So it's kind of more kind of cutting the wood rather than, or cutting and splitting, a bit of both. I think it probably answers my question about a dull blade or a sharp blade. Look at that, good old. So the next one, pretty big. Let's try this. Okay. Yeah. Got a few knots on the side of this one. We go from here. It's amazing you think it's not going to go, but after 3, top, middle and bottom, you start to see the weaknesses. There you go. This one's got some knots in it, so I'll cleave the side off. It's there. Again. So this is the perfect example of how this axe is perfect. It can handle the bigger stuff, but you do have bigger axes for that. But obviously got a lot to chop here, can do it no problem. It's got plenty of splitting power, not too heavy, and can work like this all day. So this is the perfect example. Although it can handle more, perfect for this. And here you have a size comparison to the three splitting axes that I've got. You've got your maul there, your gransfors, which is a slightly smaller one, which is still really strong and really good for splitting wood, but obviously takes out some of the weight. And then we've got the middle ground, which, as you've seen, does pretty well as well. So they've all got different purposes. You can see here, very different kind of design. They're all very straight poled, but the Oakensoft very thick at the top. But they tend to be better at the bottom because they've got a nice swell at the bottom, which allows with a bit of grip when it gets a bit, when your hands get a bit tired. But they thought of that a little bit. It's slightly roughed up at the bottom there for a bit of grip. Just horses for courses really, whatever you kind of prefer.